Hello and welcome to Radio Free Nintendo. It is August 20th, 2026. I am your host, James Jones, and I'm joined today by Mr. Guillaume Vayette.
Hello.
Mr. Greg Leahy.
Ahoy, hoy, everyone.
And Mr. John Lindemann.
Great to be here, James.
This is episode 989, so it's a palindrome number. We like palindrome numbers here. I mean, I do. I'm speaking only for myself.
Oh, it's the palindrome bit broke the Michael Buffer routine. It's a shame.
It did.
I don't think I've ever heard Buffer say the word palindrome.
No. The problem is I have to, break the Buffer routine relatively quickly because then he'll sue you.
God, he's everywhere these days. It's just like, I think about him doing the Simpsons episode, the Dredrick Tatum episode. And that was forever ago. He's still at it.
In 1998, at the height of the Monday Night Wars, WCW flew Buffer out to announce Hogan versus Savage. They flew him across country for this. Literally all he was going to do was announce a single match and then leave. Again, they flew him across country and paid his minimum, which I think was like $20,000 in 98 money. And then they changed the story so he never actually came out. So he got paid and did nothing. Fucking great. What a fucking genius.
What a genius.
Genius. Like, the story was one of them ran past him as he was coming out, which caused him to not go out there. It's fucking brilliant.
So
what a goddamn waste of money.
Yeah.
What a goddamn waste of money. Speaking of, I'll say the inheritors of WCW. John, it's TNA Lockdown this weekend, which I would forgive you for not knowing.
I did not know that. You're correct.
Good. You shouldn't. No one should know this. But there is one of the stories going in is that there is a match for a title versus the record-tying length of title reign being erased from company history. What's the stupid?
Oh, okay.
That's the stupidest bet, right? There's never been one worse than that. So his record.
So either
yes.
So either if he loses, then his record title reign is eliminated from the is
erased
books.
From history. Yes,
that's pretty great. It's really stupid.
That's so stupid. Oh, and it's 2 out of 3 falls, dude. Just because fuck it, we can't overbook the shit out of this.
It's the equivalent of stripping USC of a national championship sort of thing, like pretending
but
it never
making them play a game to see if they get stripped of the national.
Right.
It's so fucking stupid. I only know this because somebody mentioned it to me, and I went, "That's not real." And then I Googled it and went, "Oh, that's real."
Yep.
It's so fucking dumb. Then I sat around just looking for dumbest, hair versus hair, mask versus mask, that stuff. Cool, that makes sense. And then occasionally you get to something where it's just what? What the fuck? And you have to go back and read it again, and you're like, boy, I don't think you can bet valets. I don't think that's legal. That's weird and bad.
Yeah. That's
I don't care
thing.
for that.
They always know, any of these promoters, they always know what everybody else has done already.
Yeah, so got to come up with new shit.
They have to come up with something even dumber.
How dumb can we make it? Yes.
Yeah.
The fact it's 2 out of 3 really adds to it. It's did it need that? Did it need that? Did an X Division championship match need a 2 out of 3 false? No, it didn't. It really didn't.
Yeah.
But okay, fuck it. Who cares? It's so stupid. We are here to talk about our retroactive, which is retroactive. I don't know what number it is. I've lost count. There's a lot of them. There's been fucking a lot of them. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Sonic Mania. This was originally supposed to be the companion to the 999 retroactive that we're not going to do because 999's not actually available in an easily attainable way.
Oops.
Because we're very smart. And I
feel like it was a normal thing to assume, though.
It was. And the funny thing is, none of us is the one that made the assumption. Johnny was the one who mentioned it. And we're like, yeah, that makes total sense. We should do that. And then it's like, haha, fools.
Yeah, I forgot. I forgot we could blame Johnny. All right, well.
We can.
Carry on.
Now, we do have some blame here, because if I had thought about it, I would have remembered that game sold like 11 copies. And porting it to the then unproven Switch might not have made a ton of sense from a market standpoint. But yeah, it is not available. It should be available. They should make it more available. That is my challenge. Make this game on more systems so it can lose additional money. Thank you. This is the end of my TED Talk. But we're here to talk instead about, because it was always supposed to be two, Sonic Mania. This game was picked as a first year of the original Switch game, and it had to be a game that launched on Switch, so not like a late port or something. The example I gave when we were talking about this was Mass Effect, which I was then told was also never on Switch. But you get the idea. A game that is a game that came out for everybody or came out for the first time on Switch in its first year and had some notoriety as a consequence. And we ended up with Sonic Mania, and I guess we can just get through the, hey, what's your experience? So I'm going to ask two questions. I'm going to start with John, because I think you might have the most interesting answer.
Oh, I don't know about that.
What is your experience with the 2D Sonic games? Well, I asked this because I know you did play around with Genesis stuff.
Yeah, I did.
What is your experience with this game in particular before we did the retroactive?
Okay, so with the original Sonic games, I never myself owned a Sega Genesis, but I always had friends that did, so I kind of played it in that sort of almost like second hand, I guess you could call it, or like
gotcha.
Like I would play it over at a buddy's house, so I never actually sat down and really played through an entire Sonic game. I generally had a positive impression of them, of course, like a lot of stuff at that time. On that system, stuff looked really good. The music, of course, was not as good as on the Super Nintendo due to like the inferior sound chip, but just Genesis games in general, they always had their own look and feel. And sound, and so I always appreciated that, and I thought the Sonic games always looked cool. And when I played them, I generally enjoyed them, but I never got too deep into them. Like I never actually sat down and played an entire Sonic game, front to back. So this game is similar, where I had played it. I own this. I mean, this game is on multiple platforms, has been on sale umpteen 1,000 times, right? So it's very easy to get for a cheap price. And so, I think I have this on Switch, I have it on PS5, I have it on a whole bunch of stuff, probably on Xbox as well. Just because it's one of those games where I look at it and I say, this is, I had a generally positive opinion of Sonic games coming into this. And, game looks great, should be right up my alley as sort of a kind of 16-bit plus sort of version of this game. The aesthetics are very appealing to me. The nostalgia factor is there. So, but I'd always played Sonic Mania but not gotten too far into it. I'd always I never thought negatively of it, but I always bounced off of it for one reason or another. I just, platformers have to do a lot to grab me these days. I gravitate towards Metroidvania type platformers, not really fast action platformers. So that was where I was coming from going into this.
Gotcha. Guillaume?
Yeah, I didn't grow up with a Genesis, but I had a friend down the street who had one, so had multiple games, and one of those games was Sonic 2. That's probably the first Sonic game that I've seen. Before I saw the first one, and it was appealing. It was colorful. I would usually play up to Casino Night Zone, and then I would get stuck there, because I would just play the slots endlessly. Because to get into the slots, you there's a pinball flipper, and so I would just pinball and slots, two things that are very, attractive to 11, 12-year-old Guillaume. So usually my friend would actually get really upset that he would be come on, like, move on, finish a goddamn level. Like, there's more to this game than it doesn't stop at Casino Night Zone, but I didn't care. And I think I played the first one much, much later. Like, a roommate had it when I was in college, and I played some of that there, but mostly I probably played it on the Virtual Console. I played the Master System games, and I would say that until recently, I guess, like, I would have said, like, Sonic 1 is my favorite, the one for the Genesis, because maybe it's a little bit more straightforward. It's not all about speed all the time. There's usually, if I remember correctly, like, there are much fewer tracks that you can be on, you know, like, especially, like, as soon as you're in the second zone, Marble... I've got it on the tip of my tongue. Marble something zone. There's basically the one path.
I can't remember what the other word is either. It's just marble something.
Right. Marble Garden, maybe? Anyway, like, there's really just the one path, and it's much more slow paced because you're jumping on blocks that are floating on lava, and, you know, like, so you're on their time. You're on their, you know, like, you can't really bypass these slower moments that are all about more like precision platforming and not really about building up momentum. So I enjoyed Sonic 1 enough, and Sonic 2, I was like of the general opinion that it was where the series kind of got unfair with the like multiple, you know, pit deaths and like spikes everywhere. And but Sonic 1 I found generally kind of more approachable, more fun. And Sonic Mania, like I talked about it a bunch of years ago, not when it came out, but I don't know, probably like 2020, I don't know. I talked about it on this show. I think I enjoyed it a lot, but not enough to actually purchase the game. I had gotten it from the library, and revisiting it now, well, I guess we'll talk about it more later, but my view has kind of evolved as I kept playing.
Okay. Greg?
Sure, yeah. Well, conveniently, we got into last week a bit how we ended up as a household having a Mega Drive on top of the either during the Super Famicom generation, which was mostly for the sports games, right, the EA stuff. So that was really, you know, what we were interested in there. But at the time, you know, I think that Sonic was just packed in. Maybe like that was the only way to get it. I don't know, but certainly that was, you know, a common, you know, bundle, and that was the best price at the time that we could get. So yeah, we kind of ended up having a copy of Sonic without, you know, expressly thinking like, oh, you know, we must play Sonic the Hedgehog. So I messed around with it quite a bit. You know, it was kind of okay. It was a, you know, few years old at that point. I think at least a couple. Which, you know, when you're a kid is a long time. But it was like, okay, let's see what the fuss is all about and all that. And of course, you know, there was an element of it that was a bit unfair, as I'm sure I've said many times, where it's like, you know, all people talk about is the speed, and then you play in the PAL version, right? When especially for me, I was used to playing 60 Hz Super Famicom games. You know, it blunts it on that, you know, the ability for it to impress, you know, it really is sort of hampered there. And of course, like the big borders as well, you know, the big thick blue borders on it for the PAL version. And the music sounds wrong as well, because, whereas like with PAL Super Nintendo games, the sort of autonomous nature of that Sony sound chip meant that while the gameplay was slowed down, the music was not. Not true for the Mega Drive. So, yeah, the compositions are fine, but they still sound kind of wonky. I'll never forget how wonky Madden used to sound, that opening bit of Hubbard music. I think it was just like, oh, it's so messed up. But, yeah, so it had disadvantages. And especially because it was a few years old, it was a little bit of an element of thinking like, you know, this is what the fuss is about. But, kind of, because you haven't got loads of games and you're a kid, you've got a lot of free time, I kind of stuck with it and got to like it more over time. As Guillaume says, it's interesting, that first one, because it seems to alternate between levels that are more open and kind of freewheeling and high speed and ones that are quite deliberate. Definitely the second zone, I remember that, with the lava and the moving platforms. And then there's the underwater one where obviously your movement speed is hampered, but you also have to be careful about not skipping air points, right? You know what I mean? Like you can't sort of
the very slow air points.
Yes, that you have to stand there and wait like you're waiting for a bloody bus or something. It was kind of a weird little journey of like, eventually, like I said, I definitely liked it better as it went on, but I don't know whether I ever really liked it well enough, especially, those special stages that were kind of like, they're almost like a tech demo of like, look at how much worse the Mega Drive is at doing that sprite rotation stuff that Super Nintendo can do much better. It was like, because it didn't look smooth, you were in that like rotating maze thing, and it was really jerky and everything, and it's just like, yeah, like this just shows you that the hardware's kind of rubbish at this. I don't know why they did it, but gameplay wise, those weren't that interesting. They're kind of a bit random, and and that was what was key to getting all the Chaos Emeralds for like the real ending or whatever. So I'm not sure I ever did that, but it was a bit of a rocky start, but I got to like it better. And then, other than a little bit of secondhand, and dipping into things, because friends had like Sonic 2 or something, because that was a big deal. Didn't really play any Sonic stuff then until Rush on DS, long time later, which was it was pretty cool. I enjoyed that quite a bit. And then Sonic Colors for Wii after that, which has got a lot of like kind of 2D sort of stuff to it, and a certain amount of like kind of trying to go for some, kind of Mario Galaxy-ish kind of elements, and some 3D stuff that's, what I wouldn't say was enormously effective, but at least it kind of does what it's there to do, which is, add to the running time with stuff that's like, somewhat enjoyable at least, a bit of a change of pace. I've enjoyed quite a few Sonic games over the years, but I got this in that first year sometime. Not necessarily right at launch for Switch, but pretty shortly after, and I must have spoken about it at least a little bit. Although sometimes you don't get around to things like I have played the Switch 2 version of the Sonic Generations very gradually. Like, I got that when it was discounted relatively early on for Switch 2 and just chipped away at it so gradually I've never actually got around to talking about it on the show. And of course, the Sonic Generations, there's overlap, right, with what Sonic Mania is doing in terms of sampling from those games. Of course, in this case, it's strictly from, not strictly, because there is some new stuff, but, it's really based on, the 1, 2, 3 and Knuckles and CD, kind of that era of side-scrolling games, and just extrapolating from, like, what if there'd been a subsequent one in the 32-bit era, what might it have been like, kind of thing. So, whereas Generations obviously references adventure and all that kind of stuff that came later, but still, like, some of these references, like, as having played, Sonic 1, Sonic 2, I get, from the actual source material, and then some of them I can only get from like Sonic Generations or other things, right? Because it's just I still have not played Sonic 3 and Knuckles, even though there's quite a few people that seem to think that might be the best one overall when you put it together, because it was one of these things where I think it was just they had to hit a date, so they kind of put half a game out and then invented all that lock-on technology stuff to like put it back together afterwards. It's kind of remarkable.
So my experience with 2D Sonic is extremely limited. So I didn't have any friends with Genesises. If they had consoles, they had a Super Nintendo. But if you'll recall, and I've given this history before, I was stuck with an NES until deep into the N64 era. My parents were just like, no, we're not buying you a video game console. So my experience was extremely hampered in this franchise. It's the only game I actually played. So when I was very young, my babysitter's son had a Genesis and had the original Sonic game that we got to play a few times. And I mean, literally that, a few times, like maybe 5. Most of the time when we got to touch the Genesis, which was a rare treat, we immediately set about playing Mortal Kombat because we were explicitly told not to, and we knew we wouldn't get caught. The original Mortal Kombat. He had left for the Navy, so his game library basically froze in time when he joined the Navy. So he had the first of a lot of things. He had one of the earliest NFL games on the platform. He had the first Sonic game. He had the first Mortal Kombat game. So it was like this weird time capsule of what the Genesis was at that moment. And I never really thought much of it. Like, I was kind of like, oh, this isn't that much fun, but okay. It's novel.
Yeah, it was so different. I mean, it's funny because you can't really talk about the way that Sonic is designed without talking about the Mario Brothers games, right? Because Sonic in and of itself was a complete reaction to Super Mario Brothers. In other words, it wanted to be everything that Super Mario Brothers wasn't. Fast, moving quickly. I don't know if they had brought in blast processing by this time, but Sega was trying to differentiate itself by saying, here's Sonic, he's our mascot.
Create a contrast.
Yeah, and here's how it plays. It plays very differently from this kind of slow plodding Nintendo stuff.
And the thing is that playing it at the time, I did have access, even though I didn't have a Super Nintendo. My cousin did. We played it. I saw him every Sunday for 3 hours for dinner, and we would go eat dinner, and then we'd immediately go play the Super Nintendo. So I had plenty of time in Super Mario World. I had spent significant time with that game, and the other Mario games on the NES, I either owned them or had spent time with them extensively. So I had hands-on experience with these things, and yeah, it is such a different way of looking at what the platformer can be. But I want to be clear, when I say I have very limited Sonic experience coming into this, I've spent more time with Super Alfred Chicken, and that game's a piece of Eurotrash. Bad Eurotrash, which might sound redundant, but I'm saying in the realm of Eurotrash, it is a bad one. Because that was in the list of Super Nintendo games he had, and at some point we got tired of playing Mario World. And so then we get to play with the fucking chicken, which I want to say there was a phone line in Europe which you could call and you got a recording of Alfred Chicken talking about his fucking game because the fucking European marketers needed to be buried alive. So yeah.
Is there an Alfred Chicken?
There is an Alfred Chicken on the NES, yes. Wow. I did not have it, but it does exist. This has the immediate feel of Ocean ported this from, I don't know, a European home computer of the era.
Yeah.
I don't think they did. I think it actually is original, but it just feels like it because that's what Ocean made.
Like something that would have come out on the Amiga.
Yeah, it's oh, this was an Amiga game. Well, no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It could have been.
It just feels like it.
Yeah, it's just no, this is what they know how to make. So I guess there were 3 threads of platforming at that point. There's Sonic, there's the Mario stuff, and then the mascot platformers, which honestly tended to be more the Mario stuff. So I had experience with them, but they tried more to emulate Mario.
Yeah, even though I imagine commercially they were inspired by Sonic, principally, right. The success of Sonic, the way that, because it was very sort of...
correct.
It was very kind of deliberate on Sega's part. They'd kind of had characters in the 8-bit era that were mascot-ish, I guess, your Alex Kidds and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
But none of them had stuck, and it kind of seemed like, okay, we're going to...
Alex Kidd sucks.
We're going to actually...
That game wasn't great.
We're going to come up with a character, and for the specifically for the home market kind of character and game, and try and create a character that's synonymous with Sega's home consoles, and it worked. And so, yeah, especially then you had loads of animal-based imitators as mascot characters for different publishers. But your gameplay-wise, yeah, maybe they were more in the Mario vein. I don't know. I played precious little of any of those, really.
I played an alarming number of them, and I'm wrong. Alfred Chicken started as a Game Boy game and then made its way to the Amiga, NES, Super Nintendo, and even the Amiga CD32, that abject failure of a system.
Wow.
Whatever system you
of course it was on Amiga. Of course it was on Amiga.
When you think of failed video game console, I just want you to know you should be thinking of the Amiga CD32 because that's what a real failure looks like.
Yeah, and that was supposed to be a video game platform, right?
Yeah.
That, like, first and foremost, it was made to play games.
Yeah. That was their attempt to make because they realized that the market was bifurcating from the home computer, which had been also the gaming platform of choice in Europe, and the game console. So, like, we'll take an Amiga. Was it Amiga 1200? I think it's an Amiga 1200. And we'll take out all the computery bits and put it in there with this fucked up controller that looks like a bone and call it a day. Mm-hmm. I want to say it sold like 6,000. Like 25,000. Okay, great. Awesome. Just a remarkable failure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Commodore, thumbs up. But anyway, I just didn't have experience going in, and I've played 3D Sonic games, and those are hit and miss, but they're very different. They're like a very different structural thing. But I played a lot of mascot platformers. The only one that I would say, and this is going to piss people off, but I don't care, fuck you. The only one that I would say attempted to do the Sonic thing is Bubsy. And what I mean by that is we're going to make it go really fast. We're going to make the platforming weird. We're going to make you have to explore all over the goddamn place. We're going to put spikes that you had no chance to dodge. Here you go. But the thing is, I'm going to say something nice about Sonic. They're better at making video games than the team that made Bubsy. This might be, I don't know what is a more rough version of saying dabbing with faint praise. But holy shit. Accolade, what the fuck?
I was going to say, how dare you impugn accolades?
Bubsy slander up in here. I don't know if I signed on for this.
Yeah.
No, it was the other direction of Sonic fans being like, you would compare Bubsy to Sonic, and I would say yes. Look at the motherfucker.
No, I was being sincere. I was like, eat shit, James. Accolade rules.
Yeah.
You know what? No, Accolade did make some good games. That's a fair statement. Accolade actually made some good stuff, just not Bubsy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was also, like, you can't, like, mascot platformers were all the rage at this time. You know, even on the Genesis at this time, you had, like, Toe Jam and Earl. You know, everybody was trying to come up with a mascot platformer that would hit, Bubsy among them.
I forgot one. And it's the CD32's mascot. It's fucking Zool. From Gremlin Graphics.
Yep.
Brought to you by Chupa Chups, the first in-game promotion where the entire level is made just fucking lost.
It's terrible. But then, I mean, you had Gex, which we have gone into
at
length.
Shit, Gex.
You know, there's like that. All of these kind of like mascot platformers were the rage, and Sonic was among them. Bubsy was among them. So everybody had to have one.
So, Sonic was, I would argue, was likely maybe not the catalyst, but it was the people were trying that space, but it was we have to have one now. Look at Sonic,
right?
Bubble Ghost. Bubble Ghost is okay. Accolade made Bubble Ghost. I'll give them that. This is actually Test Drive 2 the Duel. Okay, all right. There's some stuff here. Now, don't look past like 1994, but there's some stuff here. Go past 1994, things get dire. You get to Barkley Shut Up and Jam. But hey, you know, it's fine. So having said all that, we actually have an email that kind of sums up my feelings in a kind of a pointed way. And it's from Jared, who notes, first off, I'm not a huge Sonic fan, so I don't I don't have much value to add to the discussion of the game as a Sonic game. I've only played 1, 2, Advance, and Colors. I want to point out, Jared's like, I don't really have anything to contribute, and then immediately dunks on all of us. From what I can tell, Sonic Mania sure is a Sonic-ass Sonic game. What I can add is that the game seems to rely on a lot of experience with previous Sonic games. I've never played as Yellow Thing or not Knuckles before, so I had no idea what to do when you come off the cliff at the start of Encore mode. I've also never played as Knuckles before, and only knew that he could climb because of Sonic 2 movie, another reason that movie is great. I've never played Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine or Puyo Puyo, which almost caused an embarrassing loss. My wife hasn't played a Sonic game and could not get past the underwater circling blocks of Chemical Plant Zone since she didn't know about the oxygen meter and that she needed to move. I only barely made it through that despite knowing what was happening. It hasn't made me more of a Sonic fan, and it didn't make my wife a Sonic fan, but I can see why Sonic fans would love it. It's also probably the last 2D Sonic game I need in my life. This is kind of like weirdly accurate to my thoughts. Like, this game is, I mean, it comes out of the Sonic fan game community, which is an important thing that we need to point out. That there is an active, and there has been for a long time, an active community of modders and fan gamers around Sonic, and that this game largely grows out of their efforts.
Right.
And that community does all kinds of shit. They do stuff that's deliberately screwed up. They do stuff where they're like, we're trying to make an authentic Sonic experience. And this very much leans in that direction. I
will just like throw that out right there. The Chemical Plant Zone is probably one of my least favorite zones in all of Sonicdom. Yeah. I don't understand. Like, I think it was a bad idea to have
It's the second stage.
Yeah, it's the second stage in Sonic 2 and in this. And it's like, why would you do that?
And again, it's references Sonic Generations. It's like, again, like the way that the original Green Hill Zone is like, it must be referenced, right? It's right. It's like, you know, Sonic's 1-1.
It's
from
the first Sonic stage ever.
Super Mario Brothers, right? So it's like that. But then the second stage has to be Chemical Plant, apparently, because I feel like, you know, that was very strongly referenced in Sonic Generations as well as this. So yeah, I guess it's memorable. Again, like I said, this is a part. For me, it's like I get some of the references, I don't get others. You know, but God, Puyo's ubiquitous. Everybody knows that, don't they?
I guess, but only. I don't know. Like, I wasn't especially drawn to Kirby's Avalanche back in the day, or you know. And but that's just,
it's not just a Mean Bean Machine thing. It existed in many other forms.
But Puyo Puyo is largely a Sega thing.
Yeah. And it was not like, it was maybe in the arcades or something, but I don't recall the Puyo Puyo scene being that big. Back then.
If you walked into a 90s arcade and immediately beeline to Puyo Puyo, something is wrong with you. Like, there are so many options that aren't Puyo Puyo.
You're more of a Puzzle Bobble guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I've never seen Puyo Puyo in the arcade, ever.
I'm sure in Japan it was, but I don't know if I've ever seen one
for sure.
But what I wanted to say about like Chemical Plant Zone though is that like it's got all the worst thing about Sonic. Like it's got like weird blocks that can crush you, like that feel like they wouldn't, but the collision detection is kind of off. It's got like you can drown in it. There are platforms that just disappear under your feet, and that will send you down into the you know, the fluid, the water, whatever it is, and the chemicals, and then you're going to have to make back all the work that you did before to try to get out of the freaking water. It is it's not that interesting also because like at the beginning you've got a choice. You can go down this one ramp or jump onto this other ramp that's also very similar, and like probably next time that you're here you're not going to remember which is which, and like if they lead to any kind of different outcomes. Like I couldn't tell you which one is the better one to take, because like every time that I'm in Chemical Plant Zone I try one and I'm like, oh yeah, this sucks. That's the only conclusion I can come to.
My the one thing about this stage that I liked is I played it with Sonic and Tails, which I don't recommend because Tails kept grabbing me out of the air and dropping me on spikes, which was awesome. Great feature. Love that. Was the fact that the game isn't programmed for the fact that the AI that controls Tails to go for air, but it's also not programmed that he doesn't need air. So he's just constantly dying. And it makes the noise of him dying constantly. Yeah.
It's just like the stage. Tails just dies all over the place. I just ignore him most of the time.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It was the fucking best. I'm like, yeah, go die, idiot.
Yeah.
Now that got less funny when I realized Tails can consume the air bubble, and did when I needed it. That was neat. Loved that. Fun times. Get fucked, idiot. I kind of wish you could change characters a little bit in this game in mid-flight. I understand they don't want that, but God, it would have been so useful sometimes.
The on-call mode is where, that's one of the... So I played through for this time, I played the regular mode first, and then the encore afterwards, which seems appropriate. I think looking at my save files and my vague memories at this point, because it is a long time ago, of playing it back when I first got it, I think I did it the other way around. I played it encore first and then went back to the original mode. But yeah, with encore... that's what added Mighty and Ray, which is what was being referred to as Yellow Guy and Substitute Knuckles or whatever. And so, yeah, with that, because they've got like more characters, that's much more of a focus, right? So it's like, okay, you've almost got like a party of characters, and they are like your lives. And so, like, you can kind of lose them, but then get them back either from, like, the power-up little capsule things, or you can get, if you've got a certain amount of rings when you clear a checkpoint, it takes you to a pinball minigame, like a low poly, 32-bit looking pinball table, and you can kind of get back your lost characters as prizes in that. And I do think, for me, someone who, I enjoy the game, but like in quite a casual way, quite a sort of knockabout way, like not how I normally enjoy platformers. I like a lot, which is a lot more exacting, a lot more kind of like, I'm trying to read the level design at all times, for like, where's, what secrets is this telegraphing, or, all that kind of stuff. It's too fast for me to do that. I'm sure you can do it on some level if you're more, and look, as you said, this is a Sonic game by Sonic fans for Sonic fans, right? And despite the fact that I've played quite a few Sonic games over the years, it doesn't rise to the level that we're talking about, with the kinds of enthusiasts that this game is made for. So for me, a lot of it just, kind of literally whizzes past me, right? But when you have the different characters, I think it helps enjoy it a little bit more, to kind of just bring a bit of variety to it, because they have these sort of unique abilities, right? Like it was mentioned, like with Knuckles, he can climb and he can glide and kind of can break the level design, I would have thought, to a fair degree at times, but like, again, it's kind of like, for me, is enjoying it in a more casual way. I don't really mind, It's like, maybe I've just missed a bunch of stuff, but I felt like doing it, so whatever. And Ray, the flying squirrel, the yellow guy, he is really cool, because basically his flying ability is a lot like the cape in Super Mario World in terms of how it can gain height. And that for me is cool, because I guess when it comes to Sonic, and I think it did get much more so with Sonic 2 onwards, they are quite sprawling, these levels, aren't they? What I mean? There's a lot to them. There's a lot of sort of different layers. And it can be kind of like, well, where do I want to go? Do I want to like take this path or that path? Or if you fall off one path, kind of, do you really want to sort of make an effort to get back on it? My instinct was always like to try and stay high, right? It's just like, well, you kind of end up falling down somewhere or not have enough speed to get high. Like, that's probably where the best secrets or the best power-ups, or that's where they're probably hidden, right? So that's the kind of instinct. And if you've got Ray, he's great for getting verticality. He's just, you just do that classic Super Mario World kind of trick, but at higher velocity. And again, you'll probably just whiz over a bunch of stuff in the level design. So, I don't know whether it's really kind of the best way to appreciate every, meticulous kind of nuance about was, but it's fun because I've always loved that mechanic. I mean, Super Mario World's absolutely seminal for me in terms of my enjoyment of platformers, and to have something, very much like it, but in this quite different context is a hoot for me.
Yeah. I mean, so, I know that GX, Ray's his favorite character. That's the one he recommended. But when you're not playing the Encore mode, you have to play through the entire game as the one character. And I started a save file using Ray. The initial, why is it escaping me? Green Hill Zone. No problem. That was really fun. Chemical Zone, again, another reason why it sucks. Ray is kind of useless there because that zone is all, closed tunnels, basically. So forget about it.
So maybe I'm stupid, but I didn't think I had the choice of Ray. I felt like I only had the choice of Sonic, and Tails, and Knuckles when I started the game.
Because you did not have the plus DLC, maybe.
Oh, that's it. I didn't have the plus. Yes, I had the base game. Well, so. But yeah, not being able to do that stuff without Encore mode does make things less enjoyable. I did want to touch on this because I went on a rant in our Discord. I was fighting the spider boss, which I can't remember what stage that was in.
Is that Flying Battery?
I think it is.
Yes, it's Flying Battery. Now that you've said it, I recall this. And I was just in a bad fucking mood.
Ugh. Worst game to play if you're in a bad mood.
Well, no, I was in a bad mood because of the game.
Okay,
the game
totally fair.
Put me in a bad mood, because in that one you have to knock the spider into the spikes, which is finicky. But even if you knock him into the spikes a second time on one cycle of spikes, it won't count. But here's the fun thing: the spider has to come down for you to be able to hit him into the spikes. And he's got a big, he's got one of the little, the bounces, the pinball
bumpers,
circles that you can, and you hit that and it swings him. But if he just doesn't come down during the spike sequence, you can't hit him because he has to drop down and go back up, and they're not synced. And my immediate thought was, what kind of fuck-ass level designer doesn't sync these things? And the answer is the ones who made this level. But the other really shitty thing that it can do is when you hit him, you bounce in the opposite direction, and it can bounce you right under the spike and insta-kill you. Because the floor is rolling upwards.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, those sorts of Guillaume already alluded to it. We're talking about Chemical Plant, in terms of the possibility, when platforms crush you. Being one of the sort of harshest things in a Sonic game, isn't it? And why is very much by contrast, right? Because of course the whole ring system is very charitable in a lot of ways, right? You know what I mean? In terms of it's just you can get hit, but then it's so easy most of the time. There's situations where it's less true, but most of the time to at least get a few back and then just get hit again and get a few back again and so on and so forth, right? So it's sometimes it can feel quite difficult to get killed. But then you get something like that where it's oh no, you just, you were just wedged in between under a platform at the wrong moment and you are instantly dead. It doesn't, sort of just take rings away and teleport you somewhere and give you the chance to get back. You're just dead.
I ended up having that. So when I was fighting this asshole, so it took me 9 minutes to get through the first phase of Flying Battery, which people who played this game a lot were like, how the hell did it take you 9 minutes? And the answer is, oh man, that's what it took me. And then the second one was roughly the same. And then he knocked me under the spike 3 times. So I lost all 3 lives. And then I found out this game doesn't naturally have continues. You can earn them.
From the sub games generally, right? Is where you get them. Yeah.
I was like, pardon me, what the fuck? And that takes you back to the start of stage 1 of that particular zone. Yeah. And I was done. I was like, I'm out. Like, fuck the shit.
Yeah,
I'm finished. Like,
that's like
the disrespect of my time is immense.
Yeah, I stalled out. I'm looking at the main zones. I stalled out halfway through, so I got to the Stardust Speedway zone, and that's where I could not beat that second boss, like the kind of Mecha Sonic that you fight on the left hand side of the screen. I could not. I like that. That was where I lost it. I was like, I cannot. This is just ridiculous. I did not know really how to hit that boss properly without getting killed. The whole thing was just like, I'm done here.
Yeah. So like I got to. So you got to Stardust Speedway Zone. I'm trying to remember which one that one was. That's
the one that starts off. It's a lot of golden statues and the sort of key pods that launch you around.
And it's got to be a Sonic CD reference, right?
Sonic
that
CD.
Because
Sonic CD
Metal
game.
Sonic was a big part of that. I'm pretty sure I can recall that much from the coverage of it back then.
Yeah, it is Sonic CD. I now recall it's shot. Yeah, that one. So what got me on that one was I couldn't tell from the sprite work that the floor is falling away.
Yes, I didn't even know that.
It's not super clear. So a lot of times what happens is you end up just falling.
That must be it then, maybe.
Yeah, because I ended up having to restart there as well, and then I realized, this asshole just falls. That's what's happening here. I got through. Oh, what is the name of that one? Oil Ocean Zone. So I basically was like 3 zones from the end of the game, roughly.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't going to have all the Chaos Emeralds. Like, I found those mini games kind of inscrutable.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? The Chaos Emerald stuff, because like I think that's at least when you play the non-encore mode, right? The kind of you get the blue sphere mini game is like if you've got a certain number of rings at the checkpoint, you can do that, yeah, right now. But that isn't for the Chaos Emeralds in this case, right? The Chaos Emeralds is the sort of the polygonal, the sort of polygonal character. It's kind of a Mode 7-y kind of thing, and you've got to track down the thing that's got the emerald, and you've got this kind of dichotomy of like you need to have rings to sort of build up your timer, but you need to collect the blue spheres to build up speed, otherwise you'll never run the thing down, right? So it's kind of like trading off which you get first. You kind of build up time, or do you build up speed first and stuff? So yeah, I think when I played it originally back then, I think when I did the normal Mania mode, I did eventually get all the Chaos Emeralds and beat it, properly from the save file I had. Here, when I was playing the Mania mode, I got up to 5. I think there was one that I just kept messing up, because the thing is with that, it's not just, you hit a checkpoint, you can, with a certain number of rings, and you can play this mini game. You've got to find a ring portal, right? So it's
you get one shot at it.
Yeah, and there are quite a lot of. There's more than you think. Like in terms of, but
in Zone 1, Act 1, I got 2.
Sure.
Yeah. It can have multiple ones per, but yeah, it's a little bit harsh, and that's the thing. I think
even if you continue, you still don't get to do it again.
Well, I was looking at my encore save from originally. Like I had one Chaos Emerald, and I think that was a combination of 2 things. Is that I'm not sure, but I think the encore mode, those stages must be harder, because it happened again. Yeah. Like I'd played the Mania mode, and I didn't get all 7 because I messed up one of them too many times, and so I kept finding the entryways to the bonus games. But as you said, if you fail it, you kind of burnt it, and even though they are, especially if you're trying to explore these things, to some degree, you will find them. I didn't have enough chances to kind of go, but I got 5, it's not no one bad. But then when I went to the encore mode, I kept failing the first one. It's like, God, I could get absolutely nowhere with it on that. So yeah, I don't know whether they just crank those way up because, just the assumption that it's like, well, you've already done them all on the Mania mode, so it's kind of pick it, or whether it's just I'm uniquely rubbish at that first one for some reason. I guess the problem I have is like you need to build up the speed, But God, like when you are really fast, I just can't control it. I end up like falling off the end, or so it's like it gets a bit unwieldy once you get to the Mach 3 level or whatever.
I got stuck on the fourth one in the Mania mode. And so I had the fourth one by like the end of Act 3 or the Zone 3. And then I didn't get another one. And I made it all the way to near the end of the game. I was in Act 2 of Lava Reef, which is 10 out of, I think, 12 is the last one without having all the emeralds. So like, I was just playing that same fucking stage over and over again. And it's the exact same problem. I was going all in on speed, and I was going too fast, and I couldn't even figure out where the thing went. Because that one has like a little bit of a maze, and apparently it takes a different route. And if you don't know that, you could just run around in circles no matter how fast you're going and never see it again.
Again, like sometimes maybe at first you might want to take a more circuitous route to get the blue spheres to go fast, right? You know what I mean? Once you've built up speed, you just want to be cutting corners and going the shortest route. But yeah, sometimes you might not realise that that it's been taking like this, cutting this big portion of it out, like or something. So yeah, and that's the problem, is that if for me, sometimes I think I let it get too far ahead of me. I took too long to get up to the top level of speed, and it got so far in front that it's like, even with the top speed, it's going to take me a long time to run it down, which is either the rings can run out, or my ineptitude in controlling the character at that speed is going to get me killed before that happens. So yeah, like I said, I did manage it, I think, with the one mode originally, but I hit a similar wall to you, just like another like 2 emeralds later, basically, with this one.
I'm going to read a comment from GX that he put in, because GX really wanted to make the effort to welcome people into this game. I don't know how best to word it, and I appreciate it, because when I
just say like that when we announced that Sonic Mania was going to be the retroactive, someone on the Discord was like, GX got to them, and GX was like, no, I would never suggest that RFN play Sonic, and probably because he saw this coming, I would say.
Yeah,
this reception.
I would say he definitely did.
Yeah.
But he this is for people who are still playing. I'm going to read it. Obviously, this doesn't make the level design, quote, make sense if you really, really do not jive with this, but this is probably the weirdest aspect to wrap your head around, since it's not normal for traditional platformers. I'm going to react to that in a minute, because I absolutely agree. 1. Think of forward and backward directional movement like the gas and brake in a car. You don't want to jam the gas the entire time. Disagree. Sometimes it makes more sense to let the momentum carry you a bit. Again, I've got all those horses. I'm going to use them. Pressing down to coast once you've built up speed is actually way more useful than you think it might be. If you know the game is going to be zipping you through a few loops and springs and stuff, just hold down. You'll kill enemies and go faster than your top foot speed. And 3, if you need quick speed to get out of the way of something, or just to go up a hill, you can pretty quickly tap out of a spin dash. You don't actually have to rev it up or anything. You just need to move if you need to move immediately. Good for dodging in a pinch. I'm going to be honest. He posted this twice. He posted this this weekend as well. But he posted it early. I missed the first time he posted this, and I did not recognize the press down to coast thing until I was already halfway through the game. And I remember being deeply, deeply fucking frustrated by stuff like you're getting bounced on bounce pad, and like you're just bum, and you don't really have any control over it, and you're changing directions and you're flying around and all kinds of shit, and you're pressing forward, but you're moving backwards. Like Sonic's direction is not reflective of the direction you're pressing.
Yep.
And that's fine. Like I got mad about that, and he noted that like It doesn't actually reverse direction because there's a section where the gravity gets all weird and you can end up running on the signals. It doesn't actually reverse direction. It treats it as the same as if you were going forward on the ground, which is like, it's not what I'm talking about. Because he's right, and that's actually nice. Like, if you're pressing forward and you get flipped on the gravity, now you're running on the ceiling, you keep pressing forward, it's all relative to Sonic. But then there were some, like, fans that you fly over, and at that point, the directions snap back into the normal cardinality, and suddenly I'm going the wrong direction and I fall. I'm like, fuck. All of this. Shit. Pressing down would have solved that entire fucking problem.
So
now,
what does pressing down do? Because the
only thing you roll into a ball.
Okay, you roll into a ball. I know you roll
just
into a ball.
Go.
What's the coasting though? I mean, I know you can sit there and kind of because if you get stopped,
already,
you can push down and then you can kind of do the spin and then go.
So if you push down and press jump, it does the spin dash. That gets you the big boost.
Right.
But if you're already moving and press down, you roll into a ball and just keep moving.
Yeah, you just think of it as you become a ball that doesn't need to kind of run anymore, right? He's not using his legs; he's just rolling instead.
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea, and the game doesn't tell you that at all.
No,
it's one of these things. Well, it's one of these things that I played enough of Sonic 1 to just instinctively do that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, straight away.
It goes back to the point we made earlier, or actually, Jonathan made earlier, that this game is for fans of Sonic, and it does not feel the need to introduce these things because it just assumes you have them if you bought Sonic Mania. Which I think, given the push this game got from Sega, which it was a companion piece to. God, what game was this one the companion piece to? Was it the companion piece to the one where Sonic...
Forces.
Yeah, the one where Sonic gets locked up and tortured. Yeah, that one. The Sonic bondage scene. Great. Good job, Sega.
You could make your Sonic Sona, I think, in that game.
It did have the Sonic Sona. That was the funny thing on the announcement, but when it came out and the opening video is Eggman with Sonic bound up being tortured, that to me was the captivating memory of that game. It's like, I cannot believe that's a real thing you put in a video game, Sega. What the fuck? But it is, like, I get why the thought was, because again, it came out of that fan community. I get why the thought was like, well, people will know this. It's members of the fan community. They're in on how this works. But this was a major release from Sega. They probably should have said, like, hey, I know you make games to the fan community. Put a little bit of tutorializing in. Just a little bit. Just a little smidge. As a treat.
I don't know, maybe they could have added to, before there was encore mode, there's like dress rehearsal mode. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because, I mean, the core audience is the Sonic fans, and they don't want to be, we've heard it, with Mario stuff, especially like Mario RPGs of like, I don't need to hear about timed hits for the nth time. Fuck off, that kind of attitude.
I mean, there's ways to do it that are better.
Yeah, like I said, you could have had maybe some sort of separate mode that had a little bit extra, like a prologue or, they kind of like that bit at the very start of Yoshi's Island. That isn't even a level that just like introduces some things or something for people that have not played them before.
You could have just, like, the game has no problem putting people's faces in the background. You could have just put a big sign that shows Sonic a down arrow and him turning into a ball. Like, it could have been relatively passive. Like, yeah, I can't imagine that. I already know how to do that. Getting mad that you saw an image that told you the thing. But yeah, like, I had played over half the game before I realized you could do that. John apparently got through that point and also did not realize you could do that.
Yeah, I had no idea. I played half the game.
But I mean, it's not like you can't finish the game without turning into a ball.
No, you can.
But it does make me wonder how that would have affected my frustration level elsewhere. That's the thing.
So that's where my head's at. Because there are platforming things that happened in this game that pissed me off, that I realized after the fact, if I had just coasted, I would not have been so mad about them, and they would have just kind of felt better. And that's a bummer. Like, it stinks to feel that way. It's like, I thought that, well, I'm going to state my opinion, and then we can get back to things about this game. I respect that people who are big Sonic fans believe this is one of the best ones of these. That does not make me think it's good. And I think there's a lot of decisions here that if you're not already deeply vested in this gameplay, that coming at them objectively, and I say objectively in the standpoint of like, I don't have a preconceived notion. You will look at them and go, why? Why did you do it that way?
Yeah.
What the hell? And I definitely was feeling that, where it was just like, okay, I've played lots of platformers, made many different levels of quality, from some absolutely atrocious garbage I played for NWR to absolutely atrocious garbage I played to send to you fuckers on episode 400 because you gave us money, to stuff that I got because my mother had some kind of sixth sense for buying worst of the worst NES games. I've seen it. I've seen the horror. Like, you can't faze me. But there are ideas here where I'm just like, but why? Why would you make it like this?
Well, I think Sonic's always had a different sort of ethos to a lot of the platformers.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it was, even though, as we already mentioned, it's like, okay, this was a case of, because a lot of Sega's, home console kind of strategy for the first so many years was just about the arcade stuff, right? They were a huge player in the arcade.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, hey, just buy our system to play the best, currently possible ports of our games. That was, a lot of it. That was a lot of the appeal. And, even the Genesis launched with, Altered Beast. That's the packing. That's the draw. It's like, if you want, these big, detailed arcade style sprites, we've got them. Like, that was the selling point. And so Sonic is a major sort of departure from that, of like, let's actually do something for the home market specifically with a new character, all this kind of thing. But it's still got so much of Sega's arcade mentality baked into it, right? It has. I feel like a lot of it, just the whole thing of, like I said, being at risk of like big parts of levels almost just like whizzing past you and thinking, oh, I think I saw something over there. Maybe if I'd, been able to jump a little earlier and hit this spring, I could have gone on this whole other path, but it's gone now, so I guess I won't. Is more of an arcade kind of philosophy of like, hey, you haven't got time in the arcade to, they certainly don't want anybody taking enormous amounts of time stopping and going back and exploring and all that. It's just like, if it's anything, it's meant to make you think about, the next time you put quarters into this thing and play it again, maybe I'll do something differently, right? Kind of like the branching paths in Outrun or something, So that's the sort of mentality that was baked into this from the beginning, and it's never been, certainly, this makes no attempt to remove it, because that's the spirit of it, right? That's what Sonic is. And obviously, yeah, for me, it's very counter to my instincts with platform games, because I've always liked kind of the more deliberate ones, and, the ones where you kind of, especially, like I said, Super Mario World being so formative, and, the secret exits and all this kind of stuff, that involves, and the sort of slower pace, that kind of is what a platformer, can do to me to this day. It was that kind of formative, that experience. So it goes very much against it, but I think there's still something to be enjoyed about this, just in a different way.
Yeah, like I've complained sometimes about how I'm kind of bored with the Nintendo design sometimes, because like it's so familiar. And I just remember, like, there was this one time when I went to E3, and I think that Twisted Pixel was showing Miss Explosion Man, and I think I just went and started playing, and then I saw like, oh, these enemies are like kind of in midair, and like she's got this move where you can bounce on enemies, basically, like if you time your jump right, you can just like use them as steps, to climb up. And like the the guy was like, "Oh, did you play the demo before?" And I was like, "No, I just play a lot of Nintendo games." And he seemed dumbfounded. Like, I don't know if he had, like, it kind of seemed to me like he didn't even know that he had made that they had made a Nintendo-inspired game. But like, I feel like that's where it came from. And like Sonic is different from that. Like, it doesn't have, like, my instincts to play it as I would a Mario game will lead me astray. And I feel like I started having a better time with Sonic Mania once I started really like letting go of like all my Mario baggage and I started playing it more like actually kind of letting go in general, like throughout a level. Like, stop trying to, like, oh, I think I missed something shiny over there. Oh, I think I saw, like, a TV with, like, some power-up, or, like, I saw even just some rings. Like, even though they don't matter, I want to go pick them up. That's kind of counterproductive in this game. But it's the instinct that I feel I've been trained to have playing platformers up until now. But once you, like, once you realize, like, okay, like, this franchise, these Sonic games are very fond of closing the door right behind you. Like it happens sometimes in some, in Yoshi's Island or whatever, like where they're like, okay, like you made it past this point of no return. Get fucked if you wanted to go collect some more stuff over there.
Oh, you do. Just some of the complaints people have about Yoshi's with things like, there's like a shy guy that's got a red coin, and if you don't shoot it fast enough, he flies away and you can't get it, stuff like that. Like, yeah, if that annoys you, I think Sonic might just fry your brain out, right? You just done after this.
Yeah, but and that's something that GX mentions a lot in the Discord. Just like basically, like he tried to pretend that he hasn't played this game dozens of times already, and like he was like purposefully. So yeah, I'm quoting. I started a quick playthrough, Sonic only, trying to purposely shut off the way I would normally play, and just went with the flow of the level design and the incidents of quote unquote gotcha, you couldn't react to that, unquote, were, I'd say, maybe once per zone on average. Most of the time, it was just me hitting things that behave on a timer at a bad time. At the same time, I'm also
very, very generous.
Well, I kind of, I don't know. Like,
look, the amount of times that this game just launches you into something that you can't even tell will kill you is just off the charts for me. So, like, I don't buy that at all. I mean, he knows what the timing is, so he can say that. Like, if you don't know what you're going into with this game, yeah.
Right, but at a certain point, you do learn. I feel like I was starting to learn, like, okay, this ledge... Yeah. No, but I mean, like, at some point, like, there's only so many ledges that don't have, like, visible support under them that start to crumble away when you stand on them. Like, that happens only so many times before you learn, like, okay, I need to jump out of the way stat, right? I mean, like, it's kind of like...
I can hit 4 of my fingers with a hammer before learning that I shouldn't hit my thumb with a hammer. I learn. But, there's a better way to introduce me to that factoid. And that's basically what this game is, where it'll screw you over, and then eventually, after getting screwed over about 15 times in a row, you're like, okay, I guess I should like not play the game this way or something.
Well, I think the forgiving nature of the ring system, that was in there from the very beginning, is making manifest the nature. Like, yeah, you know what, we're going to hit people. It's going to go really fast. We're going to put these obstacles in there. They're not going to have time to react, especially the first time. Even, maybe with something you still might miss the timing or whatever. But, it's kind of not necessarily very fatal a lot of the time, right? It's got this kind of knockabout quality to it of just like, no, you're probably going to be all right. It's a lot of the time, you just that makes it easier to kind of go with the sort of the whizzing, the sort of flashiness of it, the sort of Rube Goldberg kind of stuff. It's just like, well, yeah, sometimes it's almost on autopilot. And then, of course, other times it's not, and then you get hit with something, right? And that's intuitively you'd kind of wouldn't really want that to be the case. But I think the forgiving nature of the health system mitigates that, and I guess they clearly they saw a need to mitigate it. It's just every now and again you get these situations where it's like, actually it's really quite difficult to retrieve your rings in this particular sort of part, and then it can be something. Another such incident can be fatal, and then it's not so much sort of it's all just sort of flashy whizzing past fun anymore.
I think the problem I have with the ring system is that it incentivizes you just through the course of gameplay. You seem to be incentivized to collect as many rings as you can, because that will presumably get you the highest score at the end of the level. But you're constantly...
And of course, the kind of kind of in the classic games, a lot of the time, if you were going to access the sub games to get the Chaos Emeralds, you needed to have rings, when you cross the checkpoints, right? Yeah. So it was an important part of getting the real ending in some of those classic games.
Yeah, so you're incentivized to collect as many rings as you can, but you're constantly losing them. So where's really the incentive to collect those rings beyond trying to keep yourself alive? There's not a whole lot.
You think
the 30?
The more you play, the less you constantly lose your rings. I feel like we've played our Mario games all of our lives. We know how to deal with a Koopa Troopa shell, but at the very beginning we had to learn it will bounce back and kill me. Eventually we learned that, and we're okay, and we don't get caught the same way, right? And I feel like if you played this game enough, that will happen too. Like, this little fucker robot throws like a bullet in the perfect arc that it's going to kill me. Like the fifth time that I encountered it, at last I know, and I don't get close to it the way that I used to before.
I would say there's a couple distinctions, though. One, the Mario stages tend to be much more linear. There are so many paths that feel very similar in this game.
Yeah, they're much more predictable than these. Like where you wind up and where you lose your rings, half the time I couldn't even predict it.
But the other part is that enemies in this game will shoot you off screen, or the game will bounce you directly into the line of fire of an enemy that's standing there. Like, you'll be on one of those Rube Goldberg things that I just talked about. And it ends, and it's dropping you right in front of an enemy that's about to fire.
Yep.
And it's like, you better remember that's there. And that's not an insignificant amount to ask of the player. Like, that is more than Mario asks of you. Mario almost always gives you warning that you're about to get hit by something. What I will say is that, yes, we've all kind of touched on the same theory, that this is a game for sickos of the series, so it's going to do more of that than probably, or do that more frequently than probably the average Sonic game.
I kind of don't think it does. Having played,
you think they're all this?
I think that the past games were worse. I feel like this is fairly...
I don't know. It's been quite a while since I played the first one. I think probably the last time I played the first one was a 3D Classics version. There's the Sega range of 3D Classics on 3DS. But I think the first one probably is the least, because it slows down at times, right? So it's like I feel
I'm
that's
thinking
the least
mostly
of,
like
you just
2 and 3. Like because as you mentioned, like you need 50 rings at the checkpoint to access the sub levels. So like if you lost, like here you only need 30, so already like the bar is lower. I felt that in Sonic Mania it's much easier to gain back that 30 rings and then go to the checkpoint.
Well, and you've also got a power up that I don't recall interacting with, certainly in the first game, but probably not in the second game either, where it makes the rings easier to retrieve, doesn't it? It's like the big ring power up, so it's like basically,
right.
It's like whatever quantity of rings you've got, it instead of them all dispersing out, and you say for instance you've got like 90 rings. Normally, when they all disperse out, you'll be lucky to get nearly 20 back. right? But if you've got that particular power-up, I think it's the blue ring, then it's like they're big rings that come out that are like worth 10 each or whatever, and it's much more plausible that if you had 90 you could get like 80 of them back at that point, right? So that's kind of a really kind of useful power up, and I assume that's there because, you know, it's kind of like, hey, well, you know, as annoying as it is to sort of have loads and loads of it, because you can accumulate an enormous amount, you know what I mean? Like, it could be like 150 or something, and then you get hit once, and then guess what? You get 18 of them back or something, you know?
Right.
It's like, hey, well, if you can find this power up before that happens, you might actually be able to keep it going a lot more plausibly. So I think that's, you know, why it's there.
But I feel like this Sonic Mania has been better at, like, I've been better in it at staying alive than in actual, you know, in Sonic 2 and 3 especially. Like the ring retrieval mechanic seems, I don't know, like how it would be more lenient. I feel like there were more pits in Sonic 2 and possibly Sonic 3. In Sonic Mania, like, maybe. You don't get them quite as much. Usually you get that second chance that's, you know, given to you.
No,
by having rings.
when an instant death scenario does occur due to getting smushed by platforms or whatever, it felt very kind of, oh god, like, yeah, that can happen. Yeah, because it wasn't happening that often. Whereas, yeah, maybe with the classic games, it probably was more frequent, to be honest. So, you know, it's not, I mean, definitely, you know, with the references, I mean, in so many ways, it's for, you know, fans steeped in, you know, every aspect of those classic games. But I don't, it's not Super Mario Brothers 2 for super players, you know, that's like, you know, kind of going too far here.
Like the more I've been playing it, the more I've enjoyed it. I got this particular copy from the library. I got like the Xbox disc, so I was playing it on Xbox. Earlier this week, finally, the game went on sale. It was like the lowest,
fucking unbelievable,
the lowest price ever that it's been going for, and I actually went and bought it. And this is after playing on the Xbox copy. I was thinking, like, you know what? I'm not enjoying it as much as I remember enjoying it when I played it the first time. But like, eventually, by, you know, trying out, especially like playing as Knuckles for some reason, like that really, like, I find that really fun. But I was like, you know what? Yeah, I think I'll keep playing. I think that playing on the Switch screen has been actually improving my game also. So that's helped. I think that maybe there was like some lag maybe on my TV that was leading to a lot of frustration. Well, and also just like your
reaction time is always going to be better with something that's held right in front of your face. It's even if it isn't like I mean, it could be, like you said, with a technical thing of actually just the lag in the display, but there's a lag in your brain as well, and you can reduce it by sticking it. Well, certainly in my case, I can by having it handheld.
But and playing as Knuckles has been interesting just because I feel like Green Hill Zone has sections specifically designed so that you'll be like, oh, as Knuckles, I can climb this wall. Oh, here are these rings that lead me to, okay, if I glide over here, okay, yep, there's a wall, you know, on the other side. Like they actually do the Mario thing of trying to lead you towards secrets using rings. Unfortunately, like, that's the only real place where I saw that happening, because of course, as soon as you hit Chemical Plant Zone, in my opinion, the game turns to shit and is not nearly as interesting. But I was having a lot of fun, and further into the game, once past Chemical Plant Zone, I think that again, like, a little bit more of that happens. Like, there are more climbable walls with actual rewards at the top. For Knuckles. So I can only imagine that there's also, like, it's kind of similar for Ray, right? Like, there are some levels that are just like, there's maybe a little bit more of intentional design to be able to, you know, put those special abilities to use.
Perhaps, although I suppose Knuckles was always in Sonic Mania, right? And you even had, Sonic,
right?
Like you could do the lock-on thing to play as Knuckles in Sonic 2 and stuff. Like, whereas, obviously Ray and Mighty are from an arcade game, originally, like in the early 90s, which was called Sega Sonic or something, because it was through that period where Sega thought it was somehow made them, I don't know, legally on better position if they had Sega in the name or some bizarre thing.
Sure.
I forget. But and so I guess they're. It's a sort of relatively niche kind of reference bringing them back, but the abilities are cool to play with. Even I've no idea, how much they've kind of. I assume the on-call mode in particular would have like a certain amount of, specific tweaks that you could use their abilities, or certainly would be best kind of overcome, using their abilities. But I assume it's not like terribly wide ranging, right? Because it's not the most kind of radical remix of the content based on my limited understanding of it. Again, like I said, I've not torn it to pieces back to front or anything like that. It's more of a casual kind of thing. But no, I think that all the characters bring something to the table, especially with, like I said, Ray's really good, but with Mighty, because he could do that kind of ground pound thing, it does, like, there's the one thing I always found with Sonic, going all the way back to when I played the first one and you get to the marble zone or whatever, like, he's not a great fit for precision platforming, because the physics aren't really tuned that way, right? And so, like, you kind of have this kind of looping kind of nature to the jump, and it's not always the easiest to just land exactly where you want. I like with the ground pound kind of thing of Mighty, it's just like, okay, I'm where I want to be now, down. Straight down, vertical, and you hit your mark. So it's they all, like I said, Knuckles is very useful with the gliding and all, and I think with the bosses, the extra abilities can be useful, because a lot of the time it's about getting enough verticality to jump on top of them. Right. And so if you've got something like Knuckles glide, or you've got Ray's ability to kind of, cape his way up over them, can make the bosses a fair bit quicker. And again, some of it is just realizing, like, it's not like a typical platformer type boss, a lot of the time, right? In terms of a typical platformer type boss, you have a window, perhaps, like, in which to inflict a set amount of damage. And, you hit your window, and then the cycle repeats until the window reopens. With a lot of Sonic bosses, not all of them, James mentioned that Spider boss was a bit different. It's just open season. Just go for it, right? And I mean, if you get hit, you can get your ring back. So just be aggressive. Just go for them. Just beat the shit out of them, and it'll work most of the time. And it's again, design wise, is it the most considered thing in the world? Maybe not, but it can be quite a bit of fun, especially, like I said, using the abilities of these extra characters.
So, do we want to take a break here and then come back with some comments, or do you just want to keep charging through?
I can keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, why don't we go find... I've pulled a few. Why don't y'all go find some comments from either the email or the Discord if you want to quote any. In the meantime, I'm going to try to do some positive stuff here, because I basically said, like, boy, this game made me mad, and I think the level designers are bad people. I don't think Sonic's an interesting character, personally. The things they've done around him, I guess, like, I can see that, but, like, the character himself, like, he's supposed to be a cartoon character. I mean, he's the extremely obvious Felix the Cat inspiration.
Yes.
Is this you being positive, James?
Yeah, that's weird.
Hold the fuck on.
We're getting there. But that's exactly how it's funny. When I've said it on the podcast before, like when I was a kid, it was just like, this is what the fuss is about. Something that just looks like a child traced over Felix the Cat. But the funny thing is that these days, when I look at classic Sonic, it's like, oh, it's him. Like, it's actual Sonic. Like, the prevalence of the redesign from Sonic Adventure it has retroactively sort of made him better in his classic form, because whatever that, while it might not be the most inspired character design ever by any means, like he was kind of like cute and likable originally. Whereas
before they gave him long Gumby legs.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. When I see his current form, it just makes me think of Faramir in the Two Towers, calling Gollum that gangle creature. That's
nice.
That's what I think about when I look at them. It's just not right. It's just rubbish. And so when you see the characters the way they originally were, it's like, there they are. They look right. They're better. They're more likable.
Pikachu should be fat.
Definitely, to be fair, it's another one. Chubby Pikachu should still be the Pikachu.
I actually don't mind the healthy diet Pikachu personally, but because they didn't give Pikachu long ass tube arms, like that's the difference. But the funny thing is the long tube arms is just stealing from a different famous cartoon character of the era. They're just straight up original Mickey Mouse arms and legs, whereas it has the little tube with the wavy silly symphonies movement or whatever. The reality of the situation is that the Sonic character himself, from a design standpoint, isn't really that interesting. He taps his shoe because he's bored. But Robotnik or Eggman is a fucking cartoon character, and I appreciate that. There is a sequence in this game where he's just swimming alongside you in a dumb scuba thing, throwing shit at you. It's stupid and absurd, and that's it. Like, he should be the main character, and I should be killing Sonic. That would be a better game. Significantly better. Because he's way funnier. He's a much better character. And, like, all the comedy and shit they put on him, where he's Wile E. Coyote-esque. He has these absurd schemes that he is concocting to eliminate Sonic that feel massively over-engineered, but then also you see him in a scuba diving suit swimming alongside you, throwing bombs at you, with his incredibly distended body. Like, that's way funnier. I would have liked to have seen much more of that. Like, that style of ridiculousness, rather than bird flying in air that's behind the foreground so you can't see it and now you're hurt. Every time he's on screen, I enjoyed it. And when he's not on screen, everyone should be asking, where is Eggman? Because
didn't they spend ages trying to train people out of calling him Robotnik, and then the movies came along and it's like, guess what, he's Robotnik.
Yeah, it's fucking impossible, because in this case, which one should I call him? The games that he's based on, he was called Robotnik. Should I call him Robotnik? I don't know. But regardless, whatever name you want to call him, he is a goddamn cartoon, and I appreciate that, because more enemies in like the big boss should be a cartoon. Like, Bowser is at his best when he is a stupid cartoon character. When he's supposed to be menacing, he's pointless. Get him out of here. He's boring. Give me like dumb, goofy Bowser. That's the best version of him. This Eggman, Robotnik, whatever his name is, doing dumb garbage in the background of the game, or showing up and challenging me to Puyo Puyo for no reason. We're just gonna do it. That's way better than the bosses that aren't him. I guess the best way of putting it. There's a big giant snake boss in, I don't remember which one it is. But it comes at you from multiple different directions to kind of give the impression of 3D. And the only time you can hit it is right as its head's passing over you. But it's not actually 3D, so timing that sucks. But also, it's just a big snake. Like, that's boring. Get it out of here. The magic doing robots. Like, there is comedy to be had in a robot in a yellow top hat that does magic. This game did not deliver on it. I think he's summoning. If there's the one I think of, he's summoning characters from the Game Gear game Triple Trouble, Yes.
In that, like Fang the Sniper or something. I definitely remember hearing this tidbit somewhere. So again, it's like, do those characters, when those characters emerge, like, they don't resonate with me. But that's, if you come into it playing it, and you haven't played all of the 2D Sonic games, there's going to be moments like that for you. You're just going to have to say, yep, that's probably a reference to someone else, basically.
Yeah. But anytime Eggman was on screen, excitement, because he's an idiot, and that's what I want. I want idiocy. Give it to me. Nintendo could stand to make Bowser dumber. Like, when Bowser is really dumb, that's it. That's his best. When Bowser is menacing.
I'd say that the one in Wonder was like one of the more light-hearted ones. With the whole the music festival kind of feel to it.
Yeah, that was good. I appreciate that. I appreciate this is stupid. We're gonna enjoy it because this is a cartoon. And the thing about this is something I think is kind of interesting. Like the mascot platformer is an extension of Golden Age cartoons. And for whatever reason, it feels like they forget that the bosses, the bad guys in those, were often like comedic oafs. Very even Bluto. Bluto is a joke, and he's the most menacing being in existence. But he's also a big dumb idiot. And it's important that if you're going to do that the bad guy be a big dumb idiot. He doesn't need to be menacing. He shouldn't be menacing. It should be like, I can't believe this asshole's here again. What a dipshit.
I'm probably not. I'm probably not teaching anyone anything here, but his Dr. Eggman's original design with the weird, I guess it's a collar that's yellow, kind of. These triangles that point downward, kind of resemble a walrus. And so, I am the Eggman, I am the walrus. That's...
I believe that is the reference to a certain degree, yeah.
Right.
But also, he's shaped like an egg.
Also, yes, he's Eggman.
he's shaped like a fucking egg.
Yeah.
But he's dumb, and I really appreciate that. And every time he was on screen being dumb, I enjoyed that.
Personally, I enjoyed the Sonic design enough. As a kid, I thought he looked cool, and Tails looked cute, and I kind of even I enjoyed Knuckles. I was like, whoa! When he's introduced in Sonic 3, and there's this scratching. He's introduced with disc scratching. I was like, wow, he's some sort of rapper. How cool. I was absolutely on board for that. And I don't know. The use of the very bright colors, they're each color coded, it's very simple, it's very it pops. And I think it made a good use of, the Genesis's capabilities. Graphically.
Yeah, that's a big one, right? It's just go with bold colors, right? It didn't have the kind of rich, kind of nuanced palette of the Super Famicom, but working with what it had, it's just bold and fast and flashy. That's the thing. It might be home only, but it's got so much of that Sega arcade ethos in it, right? Of just again, and that still worked at the time because so many games were rooted in kind of arcade principles, whether they were actual conversions or not. But B, we talk about people seeing games at friends' house and stuff. That is a way that you can impress people who are not necessarily playing the game for extended periods of time, in a brief, sort of window you've got there to make an impression on them and make them think about, if the next console purchase they make, are you going to go with the thing that had that, real flashy appeal? It was kind of a really, really strong kind of, example of how you could do that in a home game. And what I like about Sonic Mania is just the sort of thought experiment stuff of okay, if you were trying to do this flashy stuff in a 32-bit game, how would that have manifested itself? You know, and it is stuff like we already mentioned the Sonic CD zone with the metal Sonic like fight, and with that it's kind of like you start the chase and then you kind of realise that there's like a tower in the background that's like polygonal, and you're going round it and stuff like that. You know, these sorts of the sort of tricks I feel that feel very authentic. Like, yes, they would have done something like that. You know, have a little bit of geometry in a level. It's whoa, you know, it's so quaint to think that you know people would have been really impressed by that, but they would have been.
They would have been,
absolutely no doubt about it.
But also, like they use probably the extra memory capacity to just like cram the thing with extra animation that just as much as I keep shitting on Chemical Plant Zone, it does start with like each character having its own reaction to having like a drop of oil dropped on them,
right?
You know, like
presumably,
yeah. Sonic just like shakes it off. You know, you can see that he's kind of like eked out, like he's just, you know, but like Knuckles just is annoyed and like, you know, wipes it off, and like each has their own like little reaction, like it's bespoke. One thing that I like is in the flying battery zone, like the kind of the monkey bars. Like they all pretty much handle them the same, except like if you play as Ray, you can see the kind of the goofy personality come through, because he doesn't just one hand after the other. He just like cartwheels on them, basically, you know, like just whoop, like grabbing with the feet and the hands and the feet, and
using his tail with some of these animations as well. It's like Ray's definitely, they give him some goofy personality. Like when you clear a level, like everyone's got their own like victory pose. I mean, Ray's like wiggling his thumbs back and forth like he's doing a, you know, who's got two thumbs and likes blank joke. Like it's just so silly. But that's the thing. Yeah, it's got loads of, you know, loads of frames of animation. You know, so it's you kind of, maybe you remember the classic games looking more like this, but no, like it's definitely been vastly enriched, but in a very authentic way. That's the thing.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, if we're gonna jump into like some comments,
I've got a few queued up. So if you've got one, go for it.
Okay. Well, I've been mostly looking at the Discord, and I want to give like a gold star or whatever. Maybe gold star is not even enough for Rad's Prower.
I was about to quote, I think, the same thing, so go for it.
Oh, well, I couldn't possibly quote everything, because like they literally like put basically like an encyclopedia, like an FAQ in our Discord for each level. So like if you want to read like in-depth impressions about each and every zone and act, like you can go there. I would recommend it. It's been entertaining, and like it's helped me understand maybe a little bit better what the game is doing. But here, like I'm going to focus on this tangent in one of his first articles about the game. Tangent, level design misconceptions. I'm going to take this opportunity to address a common misconception about Sonic games and their level design. That misconception is that the games are meant to focus on speed. This most often is expressed by some variant of the statement, "It's so fun to finally get going fast, just to run face first into some spikes." Different games in the series obviously vary. It varies from entry to entry, but the early 2D games pretty much universally employ some level of exploration as part of the level design and intended gameplay. Yes, you can technically just run as fast as you can in the general direction of left to right to clear stages and ultimately the game, but they make it very clear, even in the first game, that just clearing the levels is not the real goal. The exploration aspects of those games did have a general progression, getting more exploratory with each subsequent release in the main line of games. In Sonic 1, exploration is basically centered on finding alternate paths and ensuring you have 50 rings at the end of a stage. In Sonic 2, exploration is expanded because you now need to find checkpoint posts to enter the special stages. In addition to simply finding these posts, you also need even more rings to utilize all those posts as well. In Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the pinnacle of the original trilogy's exploratory growth, rings themselves become much less important, but the entrances to the special stages are hidden and often very well and entirely out of the way of the normal path, like the previous posts were.
Right, so that's a 3 and Knuckles thing then, no? Because I was talking about the fact that it was different from like Sonic 1 and 2.
Yeah, and the previous post, the posts still function as checkpoints, whether you could enter a special stage or not. I'm not sure if I understand this sentence, but anyway, Sonic CD is the black sheep.
So there were still, even if you couldn't get into a special, you didn't have enough rings, it was still a checkpoint.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. That's all the sentence was saying.
Okay. Sonic CD is the black sheep of the early Sonic games, in my opinion, at least in terms of the console releases. Its level are admittedly more exploratory in their design than even Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but that exploration is far less rewarding in terms of gameplay than Sonic 3 and Knuckles, as the only thing to explore is for the 2 machines placed in the past version of the zones in order to get a good ending. These are not even required after you get all the time stones either. Anyway, he gets into the weeds, pretty much. But
I was going to point out that he does confirm Greg's statement that it feels like the second mode has harder stages to get the emeralds.
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but definitely it explains why, my Encore save file from back then was so feeble in that regard as well.
He does mention that I think that he says that the first act in each zone, when those zones are inspired by a classic Sonic, are usually fairly close to what that original level was. And then Act 2 is where they take those themes and kind of remix them more to give something a little bit more original, but using, that same theme, that same setting. So that's interesting.
Also, he kind of kicked off the conversation about the follow-up, or the lack thereof, to Mania. Nintendo commented on, basically said that they love Sonic. They play through 1, 2, 3 and Knuckles every year. 2D certified 2D Sonic lover, and sort of confirmed what we've been our operating theory. Everything feels second nature and natural to me, but I can't imagine that would be the case for someone new to the series or without the intricate knowledge of the originals. I wonder if there's some residual console war dividing lines between those that love this and those who can't get on with it. But he noted that it just made me sad that we'll never see a sequel from the original team, as they truly understand what classic Sonic should be. And Rats Prower notes that it was disappointing that the next outing we got was Superstars, which was not nearly as bad as Sonic 4, but still a major letdown compared to Mania. Which there was some stuff going on around that line of talking. But GX, who is our other resident Sonic expert, speaking about the window after Mania, given the timing of it, one half, he's referring to the team that made Mania, was probably working on Penny's Big Breakaway, and the other half kind of disbanded after the Sonic Origins Sonic 3K due to lack of work. That said, Whitehead, referring to Christian Whitehead, one of the people who made this game, wasn't fully involved in Superstars, but he was somehow able to confirm that Mania's physics calculation, that it uses Mania's physics calculations long before launch. They said the other problem was that Izuka, the person who's currently responsible for the Sonic franchise, pretty much said that they would not be doing more retro sprite art Sonic games after Mania, and my suspicions are that Sega shifted to only being interested in retail price games, and that nobody's going to pay $60+ for Mania 2 if it looked like, even if it looked like a hardware generation more advanced than Genesis. That is kind of interesting, though, that the point that they're all in here is that there really wasn't a a follow-up to Mania, because it was really meant to be a companion game to fucking Sonic Forces.
Well, yeah, in terms of the release date, and of course that was the thing, right, is that Sonic Forces did not go down very well, at least with the critics, right? That was it reviewed really badly. I mean, I know we're not...
Fucking like, Sonic Forces is its legal name, yes.
It's not unprecedented, right? Like, obviously the Sonic 06 game is a legendary bomb with critics and all that, so, you know, the series has been through it before, weathered it before, but, you know, obviously, you know, alongside that, Sonic Mania reviewed much, much better and, you know, seemed to land relatively well, you know, with the intended audience, but also, you know, perhaps got, you know, because of some of the positive press and all that, reached a little bit beyond that, or more to like lapsed Sonic fans. And, you know, it did seem like it had, you know, a pretty positive impact. And you would think, you know, that some sort of more immediate capitalization would have been in order. But, yeah, like Superstars that you've mentioned there, which is, yeah, is another side scroller with the classic Sonic design, in terms of the character design, as well as, you know, the kind of game, was much later and with polygonal graphics, and I believe co-developed by Zest. Yes, the people behind things like Yoshi's New Island. So, and it was, you know, it didn't review like that badly. I mean, there certainly were individual reviews that were very poor. Although I think the NWR one was quite uncomplimentary, if I remember correctly. But it wasn't like a big, you know, sort of disaster in that regard, the way that sort of like Sonic Forces was. But you know, it didn't capitalize in that way, right? And look, far be it from me to tell tell Sega how to manage Sonic, because you know, they do have all these movies and like spin-off TV shows and stuff now. I mean, it's, to be fair, it's been quite remarkably enduring considering everything, you know, them, you know, stopping being in the hardware business, you know, how everything, the gaming landscape has changed so much in the decade since then, for it to still be relevant at all, you know, and let alone, you know, generating the kind of revenue that it does in all these various ways, with merchandising and crossovers and, you know, TV screen adaptations and still, you know, video games naturally. Yeah, I mean, you know, they don't need any advice from me, but it seemed like it was, you know, a window was there to do something that's like, you know, people have talked about a little bit with like Star Fox recently coming out, right? You know, it's like you do the kind of safe thing that's like either mostly or, you know, entirely a remake, and then maybe use it as a launch pad for something after that, right? If it goes well. And this seemed like it was, you know, that, and then they just didn't take it.
Yeah, I going through, there's a lot of like, I'm going to use the word theorizing in our Discord thread about the state of that stuff. And I do think there was something that was pointed out that is deeply alarming, because we're old, that Sonic, Adventure 2 is sort of the like catalyst for Sonic entering the current millennium, and that game's 25 years old.
Damn.
And it's 15 years since it was last released.
Yeah,
it's like shit. It is, isn't it? Fuck. As GX notes, 2D just ain't bringing people in. New people. It's the movies and the TV shows that are bringing people to Sonic right now. Oh, the timer. I want to talk about the timer and the continues.
Yeah.
Because this game shouldn't have a fucking timer, and it shouldn't require continues.
Yeah, I think the timer is off by default in Encore mode, but I'm not sure about that.
But I turned it off once I realized you could do that. But GX informed me that this is the last game that does continues. He's like, yeah, after this, they just sort of said, like, yeah, you can just keep going until you get through it. Because these stages are long. Mm-hmm. I know people who have the Sonic sense can bust through these levels in a couple minutes. But if you don't, you aren't gonna do that.
Well, and also if you're trying to actually explore them.
Yeah.
Right, which, again, if you want to make some sort of reasonable effort at finding the entrances to the special stages that can get you the emeralds, there is an explicit sort of incentive and inducement to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is significant to me, from my perspective, that the game has, it doesn't, you have to earn continues, but that you can run out of lives. We had this conversation with Mario. Honestly, I think this crew that is presently talking, or at least some permutation of it, had this very conversation with Mario with respect to Mario Galaxy 2 after I played it for review in front to back, 2010. I think I played it front to back in about
it was very, very short period of time, wasn't
20
it?
20 hours. Like, just a marathon. And I remember coming on here and being like, fuck Yoshi forever. Like, I don't ever want to see that fucking dinosaur ever again. I can't tell you how many lives that asshole cost me. But we were talking about, like, man, should lives really matter in Mario? And they've effectively gotten to the point where they're there, but they don't.
Was it Odyssey? They literally weren't, right?
That's right. Honestly, they just weren't.
And then, they have actually kind of brought them back, but they're still, like, irrelevant. Like, they've been mostly irrelevant. I mean, even in stuff like Mario Sunshine, which is obviously, considerably before Galaxy 2, right. You got to a point where it's like, if you were in one of those secret levels, as they call them, where the flood gets taken away, a lot of the time they just essentially, like, create a point where it's like, well, if they get this far into the level, there's just a one-up there.
Right.
Which feels like a weird kind of half measure, but, again, it was almost like saying, yeah, it's going to really suck when people run out of lives and then they have to come back and then, like, just to get to the entrance to the secret level to then begin.
Some of them were quite far away from where you start the level.
It could be a bit of a trek to even get there. So basically, we don't want them to run out of lives, so we're going to give them a soft one-up. And it's like, well, you could just, like, either get rid of lives, or you could just say, like, oh, well, when you open the gateway to the secret level the first time, it opens a pipe, which means you can just go there whenever you want after that. There's other ways you could solve this, but they did it in, like, the most simple kind of, but not entirely.
Or just don't deduct the life when you die in that room.
In the secret stages, lives don't exist, but they exist outside. Like, but they did it in a very sort of minor way. Like, there's, like, some recognition of the issue. So, and that was, back in 2002. That was a long way before,
right.
Kind of it really got to the point of, like, no, we need to make 3D Mario games more accommodating, because if they lost that kind of mainstream appeal, it kind of felt like that the side-scrolling games had, which is why we get things like Mario Galaxy 2 having the tutorial DVD in some regions about, like, what a 3D platformer is. But yeah, I mean, other than that, just like the amount of coins, a lot of the time you just get, even if it's not New Super Mario Brothers 2, you're just getting so many coins that lives are coming out of your ears and stuff. So it's just like, well, if they're that abundant, what's the point of them even being there? And that's why it did kind of make sense that Odyssey just deducted coins, right? That's what it did. It just kind of left it at that.
Apparently, the most recent 2D Sonic game, which is the one we've been talking about, just basically just says fuck it. And I feel like that would have decreased my frustration with this game immensely. Because it wasn't just like, hey, you ran out of lives, bummer for you, go back to the start of Act 1. Which, like I said, for me, in some cases, Flying Battery Zone, it took me about, real world time, it took me about 20 minutes. That includes, like, the bonus stages and stuff. To get back to the boss.
I do think the bonus stuff could, in all its guises, so that's the running down the Chaos Emerald, the blue spheres thing, and the pinball in the on-cut that could all stand to be snappier. It should
too long.
It should happen faster. I'm not saying it needs to be WarioWare, but it needs to get in and get out faster.
Well, it goes to my initial premise, how I started down this thread. The stages are too long. They take too long to beat if you are playing them for the first time, especially because there's a 10-minute time limit, which is dumb and doesn't need to be there. But if it takes like 20 minutes to get back to the boss,
Yeah.
And the game doesn't reset your lives when you go to a new zone, which is fucked. Like I had a run to Flying Battery the first time. I just got straight to the boss, but I only had one life, which said 1. And by the way, 1 means 0, just in case you're curious.
Right, yeah.
It's complete opposite of Mario convention, where the 0 life is the one you're fucked on.
It's remaining. Yeah. What's remaining? Yeah.
So I got killed by that boss, I want to say, on some bullshit hit. And it's like, well, I have to go replay the whole game or the whole zone again? That sucks.
Yeah, so I do have an email for this here from Andrew Brill.
Yeah, this is like really quite similar to your experience by the sound of it, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. One thing that surprised me is apparently, and this is like a little snippet of it, but he says, one thing that surprised me is that apparently I need to get good. On several stages, I game overed on the boss of Act 2. This starts you back at Act 1 of the corresponding stage, which is a pretty significant setback. I know the game is retro-inspired, but starting so far back felt punishing and disrespectful of my time. While I play a fair amount of older games and this style of checkpointing is nothing new to me, these days I make liberal use of save states in situations like this.
Yes!
I found myself wishing that I could set a checkpoint or save state before the boss that would persist even if I game overed. The Metal Sonic boss at the end of Stardust Speedway, which is basically where I plateaued, took me a few tries, and after my third time game overing on the boss of Act 2 of the next stage, Hydro City Zone, I think I am throwing in the towel. So, yeah, I mean, to me, I actually it didn't really bother me that it made me go back to stage 1, but it was more so that I would get to the boss, I wouldn't have a clue what to do. I would screw up.
Yes.
And then I wouldn't even have a chance. I felt like I was never given the opportunity to really actually learn the boss before I get sent all the way back to the start of the first stage.
Yeah, because that's the trouble, isn't it? I guess it's just that because usually there's a checkpoint and he'll give you a few rings, like 3. I think usually is kind of what the standard. Like if you're restarting from a checkpoint that's immediately near a boss, it'll give you 3 rings, and that's what you get to fight the boss with, essentially. But yeah, if you kind of get in game overed, it's different. You're going a longer way back. And I think the encore mode, like if you spend any amount of time in that pinball thing, you can earn an ungodly amount of continues, more than you'll ever need. And, that's it. You kind of, you don't really have to play the pinball thing again unless you want to get characters back in it. But yeah, I'm not sure in the Mania mode, with the spheres and stuff, I'm terrible at that. Absolutely awful at that.
The timing of your button press to him turning is delayed in a weird way that often made me press it again, and it does process both of them. And so I ended up running it. Yeah, it's weird. It's like it reminds me of what is the name of that thing?
Yeah.
It reminds me of like a grid-based RPG dungeon, but you're also on a rail. Like there's some really old PC games that kind of work that way, and they also queue your inputs because the processor had to like process game world, process input, process game world, process input. And so it feels incredibly stilted, and I get it because that's what the stuff from the Genesis era that inspired this felt like.
That is straight Sonic 3, I think. So it's just like, again, it was trying to impress people, trying to be flashy with his. It's kind of like 3D, isn't it? But I mean, the problem I've got with it from a sort of practical point of view is that it's like when it's slow, it's too slow. It's like, all right, I get it. I'm going to turn right in a minute, and I'm just now I'll turn right, but it speeds up, and then when it gets fast, it's way too fast for me. I'm just like, I can't handle it.
It's way too fast.
And even if I was better at it, it would take too bloody long. To complete some of these.
Especially since it's at every like checkpoint post. So like if you decide to play it every time, you're going to playing it a lot, and after a certain point, I was just fatigued. Like I was just, and I think I've only managed to win like half of them. But there's kind of, you go through levels, right? Like you go through. I think that they cycle. So like you never really. You don't play the same level, Blue Sphere level twice in a row. So like you need to remember like next time, like maybe like after you've played like 50 different variations, like, oh yeah, this one's a real asshole. You only have to collect 14, but it's this like, there are all these like gotcha kind of moments where you hit a yellow sphere that acts as a trampoline, basically. Anyway, like, and so like as soon as you land, you need to turn right, not left, right, because that's where the blue thing is. And then like, anyway, like it demands such quick reaction time, but also it almost requires you to have memorized these blue sphere levels. And
some of them definitely,
yeah. And it like I really wish that someone had taken away Christian Whitehead's access to the blue sphere level editor at some point. Like, it's enough.
I just don't think they're any fun.
No.
Like, the only time I ever cleared one, it was purely coincidence. Like, the game gave me, like, it was just a bunch of squares, and I just got lucky. Like, I don't feel like it was my skill at all.
Well, I don't think it's probably, anything too terribly difficult to see why you get the pinball thing in the encore mode instead.
Right.
It's like, okay, here's something that's just like a lot easier to get extra continues, and it is a lot easier to kind of say, all right, I can kind of interact with this to get what I want out of it, in terms of like simply to save some of your characters that you might have lost, and to get a certain amount of score to maybe earn a continue, and then just let the ball drain and be done with it. And it could still stand to be snappier, frankly, but it's got more of a kind of easy going, kind of take it or leave it kind of feel than those the blue sphere things, which there's like it's almost like cheats I think you can unlock by clearing enough of them, but it's not really essential stuff. It's just like unlockable goodies, I think.
It is funny that the bonus stage that makes it easier to get continues and lives is locked behind having already beaten the game once. It's like, maybe give that to players who haven't beaten the game yet, who are struggling. That would be cool. Because, man, I had to continue the first time I ran out of lives, and I just assumed you could continue. And I was like, well, okay, you're having to go back to this. If you continue, you go back to the start of the zone. I was like, well, that sucks, but whatever. But then getting not having to continue the next time I ran out of lives and back to zone 1, I'm like, oh, you fuckers. You absolute fuckers.
Yeah, and the thing is, it doesn't really teach me anything. That's the whole thing. It just feels like just punitive. Like, yeah.
It's the equation we've talked about before, where it's like, how you feel about a game's difficulty is really a question of how difficult it is versus how much it punishes you for failure.
Yeah.
If a game is really easy but punishes you harshly for failure, you're not going to encounter the failure state very often. So it makes you more cognizant that I can fail, and even though this game doesn't want me to fail, I do need to make the effort. Or if your game is really hard but doesn't punish you at all, and I think originally we had this conversation in the context of the first Xenoblade game, where there'd be really difficult bosses, but it like literally dropped you right outside the room. And if you needed to restart and try again, or if you needed to go reset yourself, you could warp away and then warp right back to the boss door.
Yeah, like I feel like this game, it sets you up for failure, then you fail, then it kills you for it. And it just does that repeatedly, and so that's
just like
why,
life, John.
Like, yeah, really. Sonic Mania is life. There you go. But yeah, this
done.
game...
Episode title, done.
I really can't play this game for more than 30 minutes without wanting to absolutely set my fucking console on fire. Pretty much.
Because I wasn't able to start until 2 weeks ago, I really wanted to commit to put time in with this thing and really get there. And that definitely meant I played through frustration multiple times. It was like, I'm not having a good time, but I'm committing to at least 30 minutes a day with this thing. And I probably put about 7 or 8 hours in. Like, I gave it a good try. But yeah, there were definitely times where I'm just like, why? Why are you making me replay this whole stage I didn't enjoy again? because I got bounced into a thing I couldn't avoid.
Yeah, for me it was just a lot of, yeah, sure, why the fuck not? You know, you walk over here, ding, 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 all your fucking rings go all over the place. You gather them back up. You go somewhere else. You get hit by something else fucking stupid that you can't tell you're getting hit by. Sure, why not? It's like, okay.
Can you isolate and loop that sound?
It's sick. I feel like I in my head, believe me, it's isolated and looped.
But yeah, like this game came out in 2017. I feel like we were kind of in a transition period for kind of retro re-releases, which is this is not a retro re-release, but it is a game inspired by retro games.
Are.
Right. But yeah, like I've been kind of thinking sometimes like, God, I wish this had a rewind. But then like back then it was not like kind of an expected thing yet. That you would have a rewind feature. And I do think that there is something to taking the game on its own terms and not having, just not rewinding to like avoid like any kind of inconvenience.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of rewinds because I feel like you don't get better at the game by doing that, right?
Yeah, like I've played some of the Shinobi games abusing rewind and then realizing like, wow, I'm robbing myself of any kind of learning how these games work actually, and like it's not making the game fun, and it's not even making the game easier because I can only rewind so much. I'm still surrounded by bullets. I still don't know how to deal with these obstacles. So I don't know. Like, yeah, like maybe this game, maybe Sonic Mania, probably could have done away with the continues for sure. But I do think that maybe like I did learn a little bit through repeating some of these levels. You know, like at least like the second time that you're going through a zone, you can try this other path that maybe you didn't take the first time. So there's always that. But also I feel like maybe I didn't die as much as you guys. Not to like, oh, I'm better at this game than you, but I don't think I've been as unlucky for sure.
I will fight you.
I have not hit the continue screen. So yeah, I've been pretty fortunate that way.
It is a weird thing where it is very easy for this game to just kill you. Because it is so physics based. Like this isn't like me slamming the game. Like it is very physics based, and as a consequence, games that are very physics based can sometimes have the physics engine go rogue and shoot you into death. This game can't do that with any kind of frequency. And so, yeah, like we talked about it, we're getting crushed by things where it feels like I shouldn't have been crushed by that. Or a boss who the snake boss that I mentioned earlier, you can hit it, but because its body is long, it can then damage you because you don't have iframes long enough for the snake to pass. That's dumb. That's bad design. If you hit the thing, it shouldn't be able to hurt you until it's passed. Like that's easy. That's easy level design. But there are things where it's like, man, hey, actually, sorry about that. We got you. Where because it is so easy to just die, it would have been just better served for death to be a non-event. Like, yeah, you died. Try again. It's too long. Like stages can be too long. The bonus stages can take too long. But even some of the boss fights take too long. It's like, why do I gotta hit this guy 8 times? And haven't you ever heard of Rule of 3? Come on. I know it's not Mario, but
well, like I said, there's something kind of refreshing about how more freeform the bosses are at times, but yeah, some of them drag on a little bit, or other times, like I said, it can feel a bit too unstructured, where it's just like, actually, I just kind of got lucky with like the way things lined up, and I just got a bunch of hits in on it quick, and it's just gone without really getting to go through the full repertoire, so it's pluses and minuses, but broadly they kind of fit the ethos again, that kind of arcadey kind of ethos that the whole series, you know, was born with.
No, I get that.
You know, and to be honest, I've said it many times. You know, certainly, you know, if we're thinking about Super Mario games as kind of the core of the platforming genre, there's plenty of times where the bosses aren't highlights of those either. I mean,
we call it out every time a new Mario game comes out. So like
I said, there's some exceptions, and like I said, that Super Mario Brothers Wonder DLC, like the single player thing, what they actually did is like put some pretty good boss fights in it. Because I mean, the Bowser one was okay at the end, like, but a lot of them are just like kind of something and nothing in the main game.
Right.
But like I said, it's not. Neither is it a focus, you know, in the first place. But you know, it's nice if they can bring something to the party. And, you know, I'd say some of the Sonic bosses do, but a lot of them are just kind of content to be, you know, kind of just a exclamation point, you know, at the end of the level of just like, hey, you got to wail on this thing, you know, again, especially if you sort of get in the spirit of it, like, I'm just going to be aggressive and like make sure that I don't attack in a way where I can get hurt, like at the edge of the screen. So it's going to be harder for me to, you know, retrieve my rings. Like, be aggressive, but do it in the middle of the screen, and then you're most likely to be able to get your rings back. And you know, you should be good to go from there.
The one that you fight standing on the airplane, the rings just fall. It's like they don't bounce around; so they're just gone. It's like, that sucks. Wish we had a better plan than this. Now, you might get lucky and one might land back on you, but they're just gone. I was so mad the first time. I had like 92 rings, and I'm like, I've got enough that I should easily be able to pick them. Oh no, we're still on the airplane. Oh, and the rings are gone.
And now you have
there's no
like
ground
one.
for them. There's no ground for them to bounce around on. So it's like, oh, shit. I don't like this.
That's generally my style of play. Is like at some point in the level, I peak out at like, you know, 80 or 90 rings. I'll finish that stage with like one ring, like guaranteed. They're all gone. I'll lose them all.
It's fine. Just like real life.
Yep,
Again, Sonic Mania's life.
Yep, that's it.
You come in with a wallet and a dream, and you leave heartbroken and poor.
You leave with nothing. You leave with one
Sonic
ring.
Mania
and
is Las Vegas,
and you're happy to leave. Yep,
that's right. I gotta catch a flight.
I guess it's time for conclusions of the game.
I was about to wrap it up. Speaking of, I gotta catch a flight. It is time for us to wrap this up. I feel like my conclusion is pretty well reached. I understand people really like this game. If you grew up with the Sonic stuff, I get it. If you didn't, I feel like this game makes no effort to help you get there. And as a consequence, I did not enjoy my time with this game, to say the least. John, I suspect your summation is relatively similar.
It's relatively the same. I wanted to like this game. This game would not let me like it. I hated a lot of my time with it. I respect what it does, and I think it's actually a really good Sonic game. But with that being said, it's a Sonic game, and it's one of the most punishing, probably, or maybe all Sonic games are like this. But I just found it to be very punishing and pretty cheap most of the time.
I am deeply amused by the idea of I just let me love you Sonic game is very funny to me.
Lord knows. I mean, I look at this game and I'm like, man, this game, the music is amazing. The graphics are really, really cool. What they do in all the levels looks awesome. But I play this game for 20 minutes and I'm like, man, I hate this game. Boy, oh boy.
So I'm gonna propose changing the title from Sonic Mania is Life to Sonic Mania is Tsundere Life, because it just won't let you love it, John.
Yeah.
It just won't let you.
It just will not let me love it. This game is just, I'm just like, I found myself at certain times saying stuff out loud like, who on earth thinks this is a well-designed game? What kind of masochist enjoys this gameplay? So
I just said fuck a lot.
Yeah.
It's just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Fuck you, fuck this.
I was just
what
really,
the fuck?
yeah. I had a lot of questions after this game. More questions than answers. Let's just say that.
How many of them were self-directed?
I mean, we're talking. There's in all directions.
Okay, great. Perfect. Guillaume?
Yeah, no, like initially I had some frustration playing it, and I was not enjoying it as much as I remembered enjoying it the first time I played through it. But then I found my footing, I guess. I really, and I think I've grown to enjoy the level design, actually.
So there's your masochist jump.
Yeah, no, but it's not, but it has gotten less frustrating. It hasn't gotten... And yeah, it's gotten less hard, so it's not masochism. It's just I think I understand the flow of the game a little bit better. I've learned to let go once, once a door is closed behind me in one of these levels. It's like, okay, well, just keep going forward. There might be another, entrance to the UFO catching level further in this very same act. So I don't even need, don't worry about it, basically. And once you kind of let go and you just go with what's in front of you, I don't know, I find the level design pretty varied. I enjoy seeing the various hazards and okay, here you're being supported by fans, in the air. Here, there's catapults. Here you've got a director's chair that can extend into the sky. It's very eclectic. It's very and yeah, it's cool. The game looks cool. I enjoyed the just even the flex at the beginning, the intro, where Sonic has always come out of this kind of that's all folks kind of circle, at the beginning, and he's just waving his finger around, or the peace sign because it's the second game, or 3 fingers in the air because it's Sonic 3. Here he just spins around in a very almost too smooth motion. I don't even know how to describe it. He's a ballerina or something. I don't know. It's but they're just flexing those animation muscles. See what we can do. The game looks great, and yeah, the more I've played it, eventually I kind of grokked it, and I think that yeah, it's unlocked something that allowed me to enjoy it at last. So I think that a lot of it is, it's designed for fans back in the day, fans who know these levels inside and out, who know what to expect, who got past the freaking drum in Sonic 3. There's nothing that this game can do that can, that will phase them, basically. So we have a little bit more, to put a little bit more effort into this game, but anyway, so I feel like I'm getting there, basically.
Greg?
Sure, yeah. Well, like I said, I quite enjoyed revisiting it. It's been a long time, and to me, when I played it the first time, kind of, like I said, it was a bit of a mixed experience in terms of being able to appreciate some of the kind of references, but not all of them. But like I said, for me, the biggest thing I think by the end was, especially with the encore mode, the number of unique kind of elements in terms of the characters, their abilities, especially Ray with the flying, but then the stages, Guillaume kind of touched on it a bit there, the amount of unique kind of gimmick platforms and the way they sort of fit into the theming of the levels, whether you're sort of teleporting around the Studiopolis like it's Pulseman, almost like a reference to Pulseman or something, and with the seltzer bottles in the Mirage saloon thing, and those spheres in the Titanic Monarch Zone thing that you it's just, they've got so many kind of different types of ways of, things for Sonic to bounce off or whiz around or all this. And, it's kind of, like you said, it all ties into the physics, as James said, but also like the theming and just this general sense of being flashy, being, kind of that arcade sensibility, which, like I said, is not really, the general kind of platformer that I was kind of used to playing and like playing back in the 90s, but it's kind of especially not really so much of a thing now, right? It's like, because the arcade game design, ceased to be a particularly influential force, right, on gaming as a medium, in the 90s, right? Like that was basically it. So I, in that sense, there's something kind of almost like a little bit contrarian about it when you play it now. And I think Gibbs already said, once you kind of like meet it on those terms and don't like, resist the urge to play it, more like other platform games, I enjoyed it quite a lot. So yeah, it's kind of, I think you kind of get the sense that you're not getting every sort of bit of intended enjoyment out of it in terms of not being able to get all the references or not being able to kind of or willing to kind of get to the point where it's like, I'm gonna do the time trials on this, or really kind of perfect your approach to the levels. You could still enjoy it quite a lot, and in that sense, that's not so different from certain other platformers, that people's experiences might have, because with certain games that are based around like, collecting everything, for some people it might be better, you might enjoy, Yoshi's Island more if you don't go for 100%. Because that can be kind of miserable at times. Where it's just like getting worried about taking one single hit is going to ruin it if you haven't like saved up the things to max your score. Or of course with the bosses where you can't use them, for instance. So sometimes that's fine. What I mean? It does just say, yep, I'm not going to get absolutely everything out of this, but I could still get quite a lot out of it. And so, that's just, pretty much held relatively kind of true to how I remembered, enjoying it, back when I played it originally. But got a little bit more kind of Sonic perspective, having played the Generation stuff more recently, like but as I've already said, like that goes well beyond the scope of just the classic games as well. But there's an email I would want to just read from a little bit here, because I think it pretty much spans a lot of what we said, actually, even or the divergent opinions from Adrian, who said, basically, I played Sonic Mania when it first came out. I found it a sterling revival and a personal highlight of the early Switch days. Revisiting it this past week, I still think it's a pretty brilliant greatest hits compilation, plus the odd bonus track of 2D Sonic. It can be occasionally frustrating. For example, when Sonic gets within a mile of a ceiling and insta-dies due to being quote-unquote crushed. Yes. It would have been nice to have not had that, but at least it's not a new flaw introduced by Sonic Mania. It's always been there. Like any best of, it doesn't contain everything that I love about my 2D Sonic game of choice, Sonic 2, but the buff and shine that Mania introduces more than makes up for it. Mania is so much more fluid and less stop-start than the 16-bit entries, thanks to the new drop dash move, the new widescreen aspect ratio that suits the action much better than 4.3, and the music is fantastic. Both the remixes of old stuff and the original tunes. And the fan service and homages are chef's kiss. Come on, Mean Bean Machine Boss, that's so cool and unexpected. I would have loved a Sonic Mania 2, and it's pretty sad that all these years later there hasn't been a proper follow-up to Mania, but I'm happy that we got this at least. It's a treat to revisit a very familiar world, but see and hear it in a new and improved light. I would never trade Sonic for Mario, but those 16-bit games are quite special. The set pieces, the momentum, the sprawling levels, the enemies, the challenges, and the music. Long email, apologise, but I have to mention one final thing. I really struggle with the special stages. I just cannot beat the last few Blue Sphere challenges, and the Chaos Emerald ones I'm crap at despite them being good fun. I wish there was a way to practice these outside the main game. The Chaos Emerald ones specifically, as they're tricky to access, and especially in the later stages. So yeah, it kind of addresses a lot of the things I think that we said there. Kind of sums it up quite well.
Nice. All right, anybody else got any Any real final thoughts before we close it out? Perfect. Greg, music, please.
Yes, well, we did have an email in that I believe was signed off as Mighty the Armadillo, if I'm not mistaken.
Got a VIP in the email.
Yes, yeah. So the true identity, I guess, will never be known unless it actually is Mighty the Armadillo.
Well, I assumed it was. I mean, we know if it was Knuckles, we could say that can't be true.
Why would they lie? They're an armadillo. Armadillos are known as very honest creatures.
Are they now?
It's a pretty good soundtrack in general.
Actually, there was something I wanted to point out real quick that's related to music, but not this. Did y'all see the new music drop on the Nintendo Switch music app?
Sim City.
I've not, no.
Sim fucking City.
What? I missed this.
Oh, so I mean, is that something they've acknowledged, like, in the kind of virtual console, and onwards,
I don't
like
think
era?
so.
Yeah, no, I mean, so on the Wii U, I think, virtual console, there was SimCity at some point. No, it might have been the Wii, but they removed it pretty quickly after like a year or two or something.
And there was a reference in one of the Smash games, but the music's now in the app,
the assist trophy for Dr. Wright and all that. But no, because that's the thing, isn't it? Because it was like a launch game, I want to say, for the Super Nintendo, but
and Nintendo made it. Like this wasn't made by. Yeah.
No, exactly. So, but because of the fact that it was, licensing an existing franchise, like it's not something that's got a lot of recognition, over the years, and has not just been like on NSO, for years or something. So I'm kind of surprised to see that actually.
17 tracks, 21 minutes for top tracks. All tracks, 21 tracks, 23 minutes, which means 5 of those tracks had up to 2 minutes. Hell yeah, brother. Sorry,
presumably it's just like the sort of like chimes and fanfares, for like...
I didn't want to interrupt your flow, but I felt like this was weird enough, and it happened during recording that I needed to mention it.
Yeah, well, like I said, with the Sonic Mania soundtrack, I think it's pretty good. You've spoilt for choice here, but again... Mighty the Armadillo, they've earned the right, I guess, to pick it, and they suggested Studiopolis Act 1, which it does make sense because Studiopolis is kind of like that sort of slick animated intro, features the Studiopolis theme quite heavily. So yeah, and it's just it's a really really quite enjoyable song.
Cool. All right, well, and that is time for us to go. Bye, everybody.
Later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
ding 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 ding